Okay, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about finding midpoints on a number line, and then in a bit we're going to talk about finding midpoints on a grid. Essentially, to find the midpoints of a segment on the number line, you're going to take the one endpoint plus the other endpoint and divide it by 2. It's the same thing as finding an average between a couple of test scores. If you get an 80% on one test and a 90% on another test, and you want to find the average, you do 80 plus 90 and then divide it by 2. So, in this case where it says find the midpoint of CE, we're actually doing C plus E divided by 2. So if we go ahead and look at our number line here, we see that C is right here, E is right here. The value of C is -5, plus the value of E is a +4, and we're going to divide it by 2. Now, if you're planning on throwing this in your calculator, you better be very careful, because if you don't put parentheses around this, you're going to end up with the wrong answer. Okay? We have to do the numerator first. Order of operations basically tells us that the division bar is a grouping symbol. So because of this division bar, we have to do -5 plus 4 first, which is a -1. Put a little equal sign here. Bring over the divided by 2. So what we're left with here is -1/2. So right about here, -1/2, that is the midpoint between C and E. What if we're asked to find the midpoint of a segment that is on a grid, on the XY coordinate grid? Okay, here's the formula. Now, the one thing that people miss a lot about this formula is this comma right here. Okay, the reason that comma is there, if we go down to the actual graph here, we're looking to find the midpoint between points -2, 2, so that's to the left 2 and up 2, that's right here, and 2, 8, to the right 2, up 8, that's up here. And when we're talking about finding a midpoint, well, that's the middle point on this line. A lot of times people think when they see like midpoint that it's going to be just a number. Like, oh, the midpoint is 7 or something like that. But really, when you're asked to find a midpoint on a line, on the grid, that thing is going to be in an XY ordered pair form. Okay? It's going to be an XY ordered pair form. So the midpoint is going to be something, comma, something. And that's the reason why when you look at the formula here, x1 plus x2 divided by 2, this part here gives you the x value of your midpoint. This over here gives you the y value of your midpoint. So in our answer, this is going to go here. This is going to go here. Okay? So we'll go ahead and we'll label our points. We're going to call our points x1, y1. Remember, the x's and y's always go together. And we'll call the second one x2, y2. All right. There's our formula. So after the first parentheses, we're going to do x1, which is -2, plus x2, which is a +2, and that is always over 2. I'm going to put that big comma here. And then in the second part, we're going to do y1, which is +2, plus y2, which is 8, and that's going to be divided by 2. And we'll close the parentheses. So now it's time to simplify, just like we did at the top. The fraction bar is a grouping symbol, so really there's a parentheses around this up here. -2 plus 2 is 0, and it's still divided by 2. 2 plus 8 is 10, divided by 2. And we're still looking at an ordered pair. Well, 0 divided by 2 is 0. Should have made made that blue. 0. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So the midpoint of this line, left and right 0, up 5, is right there. And you probably could have estimated that just by having the grid there and looking at it. Here's the thing. You don't really need a grid in order to do one of these problems. You don't need it, but it's there in case you want to, just to, double check your answer, make sure it makes sense.